you. Well, welcome, and congratulations, first of all, for displaying, at least what I think, two of the major secrets of success that aren't really secrets, and that is, number one, showing up. It's important in anything that you do, if you want to be successful at it, that you need to invest. You need to invest time. You need to invest in the knowledge of what you have a hold of. Obviously, there was a lot of people that could have been here, and stuff happens, stuff comes up, and so I found along the way one of the habits that Michelle and I developed that really helped us to become successful in the business was that we chose to participate. We really chose to maneuver times, dates, whatever we had to do to show up to get the information, because I always found it was difficult to give something out that I didn't have. So that was number one. And number two, I think the second thing that we're all displaying is that it's an important success principle to associate with people who are not only successful at what you're trying to accomplish, but people who are in the hunt, people who are also willing to invest their time and effort as well. So, again, congratulations to all of you. Today, though, as Frank talked about, we're going to be talking about what I call the best of the best of the best. And here's what I mean by that. I really, truly believe that we have the best business model that's out there for developing wealth, quite honestly. I also believe that we have the best business in order to make that happen, the best business vehicle in Amway Global. Third thing that's really important is I think that we have absolutely the best support system in making that happen. And I'm not just saying that. I'm going to kind of go through some of the logic that I went through, some of our experiences along the way, that I think will prove that. Because there are a lot of different choices out there. There's a lot of people who are the best, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? But it's important. You know, it's kind of like when Michelle and I first saw this business, I really think that we're totally blessed to have seen the Amway Global business, but quite honestly, it didn't have a lot to do with us. Because, my cousin came to us. I respected my cousin. He owned a large company, large business. He's been successful. But when he came to us and shared the business model with us, it wasn't like we went out and we said, okay, we're looking, and I piled up 15 different opportunities that I went out and investigated all of them. So what ended up happening for Michelle and I is that it made sense to us. It was logical, and it seemed to meet a need. And quite honestly, Tom and Yvonne, we trusted them. So we kind of started on the journey. Knowing what we know today, I mean, you can call it fate, you can call it luck, whatever it is that you choose to, we believe that we ended up in something that is incomparable to just about anything. And let me share some of the different things that I've learned along the way and what I believe. Number one, I'm going to talk about why I think this business model of direct marketing, multi-level marketing, whatever you want to call it, is the best business vehicle out there for the masses. And here's why I say that. I'm going to go through some of the things that I learned along the way. First of all, Tim Thays and I, as many of you know, we went to Ireland for 10 days of golf last month. And we're sitting in the airport, and I was waiting for Tim. Hard to believe. I know. Hi, Tim. And I was in the airport, and I picked up this USA Today. And USA Today, I went to the money section, as I often do, just to see what's going on there. And the front page of the money section, USA Today said on there that direct marketing, our business model in particular, was the best vehicle out there. It was a recession-proof business, is what they basically said on the article, and that people were flocking to it because people were finally understanding and realizing that they needed to do something to diversify. That just doing the same old thing didn't necessarily get you through everything. And so that was number one. You know, it's hard to read that, and it made sense to all of us. But for Michelle and I have to tell you the one thing that really attracted us, because many of you may or may not know, my background was fire department. I used to work for Los Angeles City Fire Department, and I believed that the way that we were going to really make it financially was that I was going to climb that corporate ladder within that industry. I loved being a fireman, loved doing what I did, started in that process. We always loved real estate. Real estate was something we always had an interest in. I grew up in a family that was involved heavily in real estate, and that was Michelle's background. Michelle owned her own real estate appraisal company. So we thought between what I called the bean money, the fire department was the bean money, something that had money that I thought was pretty steady, was going to come in, and that type of thing, had some benefits, and that type of thing. Between that and the real estate and what Michelle's knowledge, we were going to make it. And over a period of years, we bought and sold homes, we flipped houses, we did a lot of different things. But what we were really after that whole time was, without even knowing it, was something called ongoing income. You realize, folks, it's something that all of us have to have. Does anybody here at some point in time choose to retire? Sooner than later. I mean, here's the bottom line. You're going to find out at some point in time that time is far more important than money. Your health is far more important than money. Being with family, quite honestly, is more important than money. The problem is that money is what makes the world go round as far as being able to have options in our life. And so we set upon the process of making money. But when my cousin came and introduced this business model to me, what really attracted us to it that I didn't have in the fire department, my wife didn't really have in her real estate business, was this source of ongoing income. Something that I saw my parents do after 40, 50 years in the real estate field of being able to pay stuff off, this source of income that kept coming in all the time. I thought that was a smart thing to do. How about you? I mean, we all believe in that. All of us would love to own 6 or 8 or 12 apartment buildings that were paid for, you know what I'm saying, that generated this ongoing source of income. And that was very attractive to us. And all of a sudden we saw within this business model people who were in their 20s and 30s who were developing that kind of income. It was believable to me. I didn't really know anybody personally who had done it. But then once I got around the system, I saw there was actually quite a few people doing it. I learned very early along the way that the blueprint is very, very important, and that the biggest work that was needed, unfortunately or fortunately, was not on what vehicle, it was on me personally, and my ability to be able to communicate value to other people. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But in this process, as many of you know and have seen, Robert Kiyosaki is a big promoter of what we do today. Robert Kiyosaki has had the number 1 and 2 bestseller for years and years and years. But what he talked about is what I learned very early in this process, and what this business model has to offer is the ability to move from the left side of the quadrant to the right side of the quadrant. What he says is this: 95% of us chase money. 95% of us trade our time for money. We're either an employee or we're a business owner. Yet we only control in the United States less than 5% of the wealth. Yet 95% of us do it. He said that 5% is either leveraging time or leveraging money, and that they control 95% of the wealth. I always felt that, we all have our lot in life. I'm just trying to get by. I'm trying to make things work. I didn't really know that kind of investing, that kind of leverage was available to my wife and I until I saw this business vehicle, this business model. And so what I want to share with you is that it's important that along the way that each of us, meaning all of you as business owners as well, need to become grounded in what it is they have a hold of. It's very difficult to market or give value to people if, in fact, you don't know really what you have a hold of. And I know, and I've watched people, including myself, who will be in this business for years and years and years. And it isn't until something tragic happens or something that all of a sudden we become, it's no longer a want, it's a have to, that we start getting serious about this program. Yet I see kids today who will never ever have to work and worry about money ever in their lives because they figured out that this business model is what makes a difference. Now, here's the beauty. We didn't have to give up our jobs or careers to develop this kind of income along the side. As many of you know, we've been retired for a number of years from this business program only because we generated enough sources of ongoing income that replaced what we did. Does that make sense? That was not available in the fire department. It was if I wanted to stay 20, 30, 40 years, but it was just a percentage. And then I hoped that they could continue to pay me. So those things are really important. But here's some of the things that, as we investigated the uniqueness of this business, that I thought were unique to this business model. Number one, it was something that both Michelle and I could do. If something happened to Michelle, I couldn't automatically go out and appraise real estate. I didn't really know everything about her company or the business. I didn't have the relationships she had. I didn't have all the information, the degrees, and the schooling that she had to do that. I'd have to start over. Michelle, on the other hand, probably couldn't become a fireman right away. It took me a number of years just to get involved, and that was tough enough as it was. But in other words, if you lose your sources of income, it's important, I think, to have something on the side that either husband and wife can do and carry on. If something happened to me today or something happened to Michelle, either one of us could carry on. And that was an important difference in this business model. The second thing I thought was important was that this business has a level playing field. I don't care what it is, your age, doesn't matter whether you're 70, it doesn't matter whether you're 80, it doesn't matter whether you're 20, it doesn't matter what your sex is, it doesn't matter if you're male or female, it doesn't matter what your race is, it doesn't matter if you're black, white, purple, green, it has nothing to do with that, it doesn't matter what your religion is, it doesn't matter what your education is. The bottom line is that how many people here, regardless, have to consume? And how many know other people who have to consume? People who are just like you. And so in our business model, we have the ability to organize and drive traffic. A lot of people don't really understand that, but that's this business model. There's a lot of types of businesses that do that. The other thing that I thought was unique about this business is that we could live anywhere. I think I was just talking to Noah a few minutes ago, and I was talking about the fact that, if they wanted to pick up and move somewhere else, he's got to look for another job or somebody that maybe will hire him in that particular area. This was a business where already Michelle and I, in building this business, we lived in California and and moved to Arizona, bought a house in Arizona. We were there for 9 years or so. We now have a house in Lake Tahoe. We're in Nevada, and we bought another house here in California. We back and forth. We've got the mobile home. We've got the 40-footer that we travel around type thing. So we found we can build this anywhere we want to. In fact, we have people within our businesses who are retired who live in their trailers and motorhomes cross-country. That's what they do now, and they're able to build their businesses from that. They just set up where it is that they want their products to go and this and that, and they meet people all over the place. So it's a business that allows us to basically live anywhere. The Internet. We're an Internet-based business, and the uniqueness, and you want to start to understand this, the uniqueness of the Internet has the ability for you not only to live anywhere, but the Internet has the ability to create community. I remember listening to a CD one time where the gentleman talked about when they moved from California to Arizona, the wife liked this particular hairstylist, they liked this particular type of store, and when they went to Arizona, she couldn't take those stores with her. She had to find new kinds of stores. Those stores here in California lost her business. But on the Internet, all you have to do is put it on your favorites. I can take Office Depot anywhere I want. I can take Disney Store anywhere I want. I can take Nutrilite anywhere I want to live. It's something that I have the ability to live anywhere, and this business in itself has the ability to create and generate volume and community anywhere in the world. Very, very, very important. With that being said, there's the international potential. Michelle and I have businesses that we receive checks from 2 other countries, whom I never put anybody in those countries. And so because the business is in, as the video says from Amway Global, in 78 countries and territories, there is a potential for your business, because the next person who you show the business to, you don't know if they've got a brother, sister, or uncle, or a connection in anywhere from Taiwan to Mexico to South America. And so you can have an international business here, which is kind of cool because of the tax benefits of this business as well. The ability to be able to travel and do some pretty neat things in your quote-unquote proactive retirement, I call it. Next thing is tax advantage. Tax advantage is a big deal, folks. Tax advantages is an incredible deal. I'll talk maybe just briefly about that in just a minute. But a quick example. Michelle owned her own company. She owned a real estate appraisal company. She's on a 1099. I'm a fireman. I'm a W-2. I go back and forth to the fire station. They won't let me write off my car going back and forth to the fire station on a W-2. She's on 1099. She uses her car, does the same thing, goes back and forth, conducts her business. They let her write her car off. There are certain inherent benefits to a 1099 type income than there is to W-2. We see that all over the place. All the different traveling that Michelle and I do, which we love to do now, which we weren't able to do before, we're able to conduct businesses at all those different places that we go, and it truly becomes a legitimate business right off to us. Check with your accountants on those things. The other thing is we have an unlimited income potential. That didn't happen in the fire department. It didn't happen in a real estate appraisal business. I could beg and scream and all I wanted for a raise, and quite honestly, I might get a 3%, or I may get nothing, or I may get a cut and pay. Who knows? But the bottom line, anytime you want to raise in this business, you have the ability to develop a new customer. You also have the ability to sign up a new IBO, which now creates leverage. And in that process, I call that leverage through ownership. Leverage through ownership is way different than leverage through employee. Employees are not fun. But when you leverage through an owner, and that owner has the ability to build their company and business. In fact, they have the ability to have a business bigger than yours, to be able to make more money than you. But you're connected to that effort. That is huge in the business world. That does not happen in the fire department. It does not happen in her real estate business. I doubt whether it happens in any other business that we probably have in this room. So that's really important. I mean, you could say that in reality, in franchising, if I was Ray Kroc or Joan Kroc, that I'm leveraging things through ownership, which is important, because every time I put somebody in as a McDonald's stand owner, they're not an employee, they're an owner, and they'll work harder to keep their doors open than an employee. Everybody understands that? That makes sense? That's why this business is separates itself from everything out there, and most people have no concept of how big and good this business is. But it's important that we ground ourselves and understand that so that we can talk to anybody. You can talk to a McDonald's stand owner, a doctor, an attorney, anybody, because what is they ultimately want is they want their time back. They want their health. They want their security. They want their family. Those are things that are very important to all of us. And then the last thing as far as the business structure is the legacy. The ability to generate a legacy. Now, that's not necessarily available in all of the different direct marketing companies, but it certainly is in Amway Global. And legacy is huge. Michelle and I just registered somebody on the phone last night in Reno. That somebody that the only way we could get in touch with them this quickly was through a conference call. And that was one of the biggest things that attracted this person to the business was the legacy aspect of the business. That's huge. Fire department pension doesn't go from generation to generation if you have one. Social Security doesn't go generation to generation. That's a huge difference, and it's worth fighting for in this business, folks. Because most people, quite honestly, love what they do. Maybe you don't. But they'll go and they'll chase money day after day after day after day after day with none of these benefits. So we're looking for people that truly want to get ahead financially. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so what we do is we go through a process. And I think maybe Tim Thage, one of the other speakers, will be talking a little bit about how we use some of the tools that are out there on the bench to be able to filter through and find the people who are financially ready. We call it financial maturity. Financial maturity is an understanding for the need of generating and creating ongoing sources of income rather than just chasing money, okay? Those things are very important. So with that, let's talk a little about the second thing, the best of the best. I think Amway Global is the best business opportunity of all the businesses that are out there because there's a lot of different choices and options once you start to understand this. So let me talk just briefly about that here. First of all, does everybody agree that in our businesses we get paid on volume? Do we get paid for signing up people? No. We get paid on volume. That's an important point because there are some other businesses out there that cost a lot of money to get involved in, and some of that money gets paid to the people for signing you up. You may want to check up on that as far as that being legal or not. Bottom line is that legally the way you can make money is when products and services change hands. And we have an incredible leverage position or situation to make that happen, to be able to drive traffic to these manufacturers. So with that being said, and there's actually three ways that we create and generate volume in Amway Global. They are, number one, personal use, correct? Second way is through customers, correct? Third way is actually through building teams or organizations, what we call downline or associates in the business. We get credit for all that as well. So those things are all very, very important. But if, in fact, volume is the name of the game, and you own a franchise, and you got paid on volume, would you rather have tens of thousands of products and services or one or two products and services? Well, it's important to understand there's a lot of different multi-level and different businesses out there. You can have the greatest products in the world. But what it comes down to when you look at all three of those is you have to take a look at this one particular question. The people I'm talking to, including myself, are you already spending money on that product line? Because if you're not, it could be the greatest product in the world, but also now I have to convince you why you need to start spending money on something you're not already spending money on. The second part of that is now in the ability to create customers doing that. If I have people out there I'm trying to generate more volume through the customer base, and they're not already spending money on these kinds of things, then I need to convince them why they need to spend money on those kinds of things. Okay? And then the third part is the developing of a team or a group or associates. Does it make sense that the more people that are already doing this business, the better, the simpler it is for us to be able to find more people that would be interested in growing and generating the business? And so what you'll find out is that Amway Global really has no real competition in those areas. And we'll talk about some of the other different reasons why along the way here. The mere fact that Amway Global allows us to have and wants us to have customers is huge compared to a lot of other things that are out there. And here's why. Again, because we have such a broad base of companies, I know there's people in this room here that make great income through Nutrilite. I also know there's people that make great income through artistry. I also know there's people that make great income through ribbon. There's all kinds of different options depending on who and what it is that you want to get excited or talking about. And those things are important to this business because it gives us the ability to generate immediate income. So Amway Global has the ability to help us to generate not only immediate income, but the source of ongoing and income that I've talked about in the past year as well, or earlier. I think the other thing that Amway has concentrated on is two things that are very, very important. And number one is consumables. Does it make sense that you want a business where people use something and they have to buy it over again? I mean, it's fantastic that we have, as example, the water filtration system and the air system, but people don't buy those every month, but they do need the filters. Even if it's once a year, so there's consumables built into all these different types of things and product services. But everybody's going to brush their teeth. Everybody has to eat, bathe, and clothe themselves, correct? And if we're already spending money, a certain portion of our budget, if we budget, each of us, a certain amount of money every single month, every one of us, till the day we die, on things that we have to eat, bathe, and clothe ourselves with, do you understand that you have a business that fits everybody? What it comes down to is our ability to be able to communicate to them how they can leverage that money that's already going to leave and go out of their home anyway in a position that would give them personal and financial freedom. And to have the ability for people who aren't ready to do that yet to allow them to participate in our website and to participate in not just one or two, but a broad band of exclusive companies that you can't get anywhere else. And that's where the quality comes in as well. Folks, if you understand this business, very early into the program, everything you buy becomes free. Can Costco compete with that? Can Walmart compete with that? No, because there's no ownership there for you. But in our business, as we expand and develop our businesses, if everything's going to become free, are you glad that Amway Global deals with high-quality products, or would you rather have the lowest, cheapest, junkiest products? You see what I'm saying? It's really important as you start to understand this. People want something that's going to not only last longer, but as you saw this morning, not only is it far better quality, but in many, many cases, it's less expensive. But that's why I love this morning, because a lot of people aren't aware of that, because they look at the concentration, they see, well, that bottle costs $10. I can buy that same bottle of something else similar for $5 at the store. Shouldn't I buy that? No, because this one here comes out to be 40% cheaper through the concentration. That makes a lot of sense. That's why it's important, folks, that those of you who are here today, you displayed that success principle of getting information, because there's people outside today that didn't make it here that wish they had that information, because they could have used that information to become more profitable in their businesses. So don't be afraid to invest and go to school on this business, okay? Let me just kind of summarize up those two with a couple of quick stories here. You know, when you're considered to be the top, when you're considered to be the best, there was always those people that want to be just like you. Whether it's in sports or whether it's in the business world as well. I mean, how people have heard people say things, oh, I saw this new thing, it's just like Amway, only better. You're always the one that are being compared to, right? And you have to understand that the business is so simple, and that the business has this quality to it that people feel, gosh, there's a tremendous amount of potential and compounding that could happen without me having to do a lot. It's almost the something for nothing mentality that's attractive to almost all of us a little bit. You always have people who think, well, grass is greener on the other side. And the reason I bring that is I had a story of a gentleman that was an IPO several years ago who came to us a while back, a long time ago, and said, we found this great thing. It's just like Amway. It's only better. It's got this one product in it. It's incredible. It's simpler. It's easier. He's now into his third business because the other two are no longer even around, so to speak. And I mentioned it earlier that it really comes down to us. Does that mean that people can't make money in other things? No, absolutely they can make others. I call it the me factor. Everybody know what the me factor is? The me factor is motivation and enthusiasm. Folks, if you're motivated and you're enthusiastic and you believe in ice cubes, you can sell ice cubes to Eskimos. But if you would take that same me factor and apply it to the best, you would find that you'd have incredible results in this as well. Once you understand the logic that it all comes down to volume, it pretty much lines itself and puts itself in place very, very, very quickly. I'm going to share some statistics with you as well. And let me just kind of mention just one more story, because this just happened Thursday. My financial planner called us up from Smith Barney, what's it called now? Morgan Stanley Smith Barney. He's vice president. He's got a nice corner office on the 20th floor. Went up there and he says, Bill, he says, he likes to talk to me every once in a while about what our portfolio is and these new things. And he's talking about the market and how bad it is. And I could have shot a cannon down the walls. I mean, there's not much activity going on in what he was doing. We were talking about retirement. We're talking about all kinds of different things. He's talking about, what he hopes will happen and this and that. And I said, you know what, Martin? I said, I like to take the variables out of it. He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, you know that I own an Amway global business. And I said, you know what? I told him about that newspaper ad in USA Today about it being a recession-proof business model, according to this front page article. And by the time we talked for a few minutes, he says, sign me up. Now, he had his he had his opportunity before to do this. He's known, but things were going good for him at that time. Then we started talking a little bit more, and he talked about some different things, and I talked about the credit card a little bit. He says, "You got to be kidding me." He goes, "Sign me up." And I go, "No, I won't do it." He goes, "What, you don't want my business?" And I'm not suggesting this to everybody, but with him, my relationship with him is I need to know he's not doing that just so I start investing some more money with him. And I told him that. I said, I won't sign you up for this thing unless you're going to build it, because you've got kids. This is something that's powerful. And so we kind of left it at that. But he did say one thing. He said, I had a client that did really well financially in real estate years and years ago, and he started a multi-level business. Some years back, he said, Bill, he says that he came and told me it was just like Amway, only better, because it has this. He gave all the things. And Martin actually got a number with this guy. I go, fantastic, Martin. I go, how you doing? How's it going? He says, it folded 3 years ago. Folks, people get excited about different things, about grass being greener and all the time. We have the best business model. And let me wrap up by saying this. Here's why. Amway Global, 50-year anniversary, folks, longevity. I'm not going to take my family, my kids, or my best friends and involve them in something that might happen. I couldn't face them. I know this is here. I know it's time-tested. I know it's going to be around. It's got the best money. It's got the best backing behind it. There's an IBOA board. An IBOA board that isn't anywhere else, really, that represents us as part of the decision-making process of where the company goes. Amway Global is a member of the Direct Selling Association, which requires certain standards. It's also part of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, part of the Better Business Bureau. It's got over 700 patents. It's bigger than Yahoo. They just went from $6.8 billion to $8.2 billion in volume in companies that are looking for handouts. It's growing, folks, in an economy where a lot of things aren't growing. Amway Global has no debt. Let me say that again. Amway Global has no debt. That is so important in the business world today. You heard that several different times. Amway Global is the #1 online health and beauty site according to Internet Retailer Annual Top 500 Guide, and that's the 6th year in a row, folks. You don't become the best. You don't become #1 6 years in a row because I'm just like Amway, only better. There's a reason why Nutrilite's the #1 company, vitamin company, and there's a reason why that's happening. It wouldn't be 6 years in a row, #1. We have a hold of absolutely the best. They donate over $50 million in charitable organizations. They paid over $25 billion in bonuses to IBOs, just like you and I. They have an incredible website, and they have an incredible teaching and support system, and that's where I want to wrap up here. Our support system within Amway Global is tremendous. You won't find anything better for people that want the information, that want to do something, that want to make money. Our support organization is very, very unique, and I think we've got absolutely the best of the best of the best. Thank you very much.